Hello folks, we're back. It's Around the Country in 30 Races, a Seabrook Day production. And we're here today with Tyler House from TH Motorsport. How are you doing, Ty?
Yeah, all good, thank you. You keeping well?
Yeah, so. So obviously, you're here today to talk about you.
Yeah.
So the reason you're here is your page.
hmm
Why have you started your page then?
I started this page about 7 months ago, a YouTube channel, predominantly about 7 months ago, which is lockdown time. Great fun, especially if you're not working. You're sat on furlough on 80%. You can't go out anywhere. You can't go to racing. So all the good stuff. And I thought, well, I can't race at the moment. I can't go and watch racing at the moment. I can still watch it and I can still talk about it. And I thought there's got to be a whole host of other British touring car fans which are doing exactly the same thing as me. They can't go and watch the races, they can't go and race, do track days, go-karting, whatever they do. So let's try and find some content, find some drivers which also won't be doing a lot, and see how we go.
Yeah, I mean, you initially started it as a podcast, and did you have Mike Epps on? Mike Epps.
Yeah, Epsy was my first ever track I ever done. And we had a couple of other people on. We had Henry Neal on, which was a great laugh. Rick Kerry on, which drove the first ever diesel back in 2007. So that was
I remember
a
that.
story.
That was really interesting because I wasn't really too aware of the diesel one, to be honest with you. So
No, a
it
lot
was
of
nice to
people
find.
assumed it was the Seat Leon, which was a year after because they had considerably more success, in fairness. But it was Rick which done it in the BMW, and I've spent quite a bit of time with him. I've gone up and visited the cars. I've gone on a test day of him at Snetterton earlier this year. He's such a great guy, really interesting guy, and still racing as well.
Oh, well, there we go. We're an educational podcast after all. um, but in your time doing it, you've moved away from interviews so much, and you've found a bit of a niche, which has clearly helped with your rise and success right now. Did you think that was going to happen?
To be honest, I always thought there'd be a little bit of a market for it, purely because if you look online, if racing's your thing, which probably is, hence why you listen to us, a lot of people do it on Formula One. People like Aidan Millward, Tomo F1, Josh Revel, things like they do different stories from the history of F1 and things like that, and they do really well. So I thought, I had a little look online and thought, does anyone do it for the BTCC? And of course, you've got the official pages, Pitch BTCC, which have their own kind of app and do their own thing. A couple of small independents, obviously the teams which do their own thing. And no one actually done content which wasn't podcasty. So I thought, let's do a bit of research because I love touring cars anyway. I've watched it ever since I was about 4 or 5. I think I went to my first meeting. So I thought, I know enough about it. So let's try and find some interesting topics and give it a go.
Yeah, I mean, I I I think it's very outside the box. There's definitely aspects that we thought about, like the Alfa Romeo rule bending. Like things like that. Are you just at work? Are you sitting on the throne? Where are you sort of thinking these ideas from?
The Alpha one's really quite interesting. So where I work currently is we've just opened up a Renault dealer, and I'm in the after sales side there. And on the same site but a different building, all owned by the company I work for, is an Alfa Romeo dealer. And I was sat there looking out the window and just saw it and saw a new Giulia come past, and I thought that's a bloody lovely looking car, that. And thought Alfa Romeo 155 Tarquini, what were they doing? Had a quick recap in my mind of the season. Go, yeah, there was a massive kick-off about their aero package, and just went from there. And there will be some more coming out. One about the Volvo, which had an interesting engine head configuration, as well as a couple of other bits as well. So it just all stems from daydreaming, really, more than anything. I'm sure. I hope.
I'm sure if your employees are listening to this, they'll be happy.
I'm sure I'll be getting a disciplinary in the morning if they're listening. But yeah, it's just a daydreaming.
Well, you'd be better off just coming kayaking with me in the morning, I think, actually. It's not a two-person one, but I'm sure, anything instead of getting a disciplinary.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be big spoon in the kayak if you want. It's no problem.
So, where do you want to take this page? Because obviously, it's growing. Are you which way are you going to go with it?
To be fair, it's a beautiful thing because it's just myself just doing kind of what I want to do. It's just whatever comes up and whatever I wake up in the morning and feel like doing it. I mean, I went through a stage in about February or March time when my best friend died in a car accident, and I wasn't under any pressure to do any work or anything, so I just thought I need to take a couple of weeks off. So I'm going to sit and do nothing, and then like I said, I can just work at my own pace and do what I want. Got a couple of bits lined up within the next week or so. Doing a bit of sim racing stuff in a British touring car simulator up in Milton Keynes. Next Thursday, I'm up in Oxford with Tim Harvey, Jason Plato, and Matt Neal. So again, just whatever I wake up and feel like doing, or if I have an idea, whether it be daydreaming and not doing work, or sitting on the throne, like you say, then we just roll with it. I think that's the thing about doing this kind of thing, is that if you have a set kind of goal, yes, it's good to have goals, but if you're so single-minded, you might miss other doors open to the left or the right, for example. So I just kind of take it as it comes. If something comes in my head, we'll roll with it and see how we get on.
So you've you're going to be rolling with three of the titans of British touring cars. How's that come about?
It's well, I have a competition license myself, and
Hmm.
I got an email come through literally, goodness me, a day or two ago, max, and it just said, "Oh, it's the Fueling Around podcast, which is run by Adrian Flux and Jason, kind of promotes and stars on. They're up at Motorsport UK, which is up in just outside Oxfordshire, and they're doing basically a long chat. You can ask what you want, have a bit of a laugh, and those three guys are there, and it's free if you've got a Motorsport UK membership." I was like, "Why the hell would I not?"
So, because you race as well, then you've got a license to go out and
I have a
because you
license
did
to
you.
go out. I haven't raced yet. I want to. I'm in the process of buying a house at the moment and getting married in March. So the
Oh,
budget is
congratulations.
well, yeah, the budget isn't there at the moment. I did have a bit of an opportunity about 18 months ago or so ago, just before the first lockdown, to do a bit of mini challenge. But again, the budgets are crazy. The money is crazy without getting too much into it.
Well, I remember um, when we had Cam on with us before, who I originally started this
Yeah,
page with. Um, he himself actually got into a little bit of a mini challenge up at it's a not kill thing. So obviously he's up in Scotland. Well, funny enough, he was actually living down south of England with me at the time, and he was willing to commute to not kill many a time.
yeah, it's a bit of
Uh,
money that, isn't it?
it was crazy. I mean, he was committed to it, but I remember helping him with his forms and everything to get sponsorships and all that sort of stuff, and just the amount of effort and everything he had to put into it. And he was dead unlucky with that actually. Was that actually no? That was not with his mini. That was with his BMW competition he's in. He's in a old 3 Series, and he was really unlucky at that actually. He had an incident off the start line where basically a car few rows up stalled on the line.
Right.
And I remember watching the footage. It's on like the dash cam sort of footage. And as he's taken off from the start, all of a sudden you just see like the two cars in front of him scatter to the side really quickly. All of a sudden there's just this back end of this other car just comes up at the speed of light
Yeah.
because obviously he's just absolutely just decked into the back of it.
This is the thing about
Um,
motorsport is that, to go decent racing, you need a hell of a lot of money. I mean, like mortgage deposit money to go racing. And that's without crashing the bloody thing. That's without putting fuel in it, that's without putting tyres on it. It's a ridiculous amount of money that you need.
well, it's like we were saying. I think we said on the last podcast with Rich about the super touring era budget and how it all obviously imploded. And what was it? A modern team in the touring cars still has to fetch about 1 million, to race.
Yeah, it's more than enough money and a bit of pocket change here and there.
Oh yeah, yeah, Just I just find that in loose change, just going up to wishing wells,
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't done a season yourself, actually, that spare change you got down the back.
Yeah, yeah, no, quite, yeah. All the money I'm raking in from this podcast I'm doing. No, I think like I was just saying before, maybe just keep it small and sweet, and then I don't get the aggro then, do I?
Exactly that. Exactly that.
No one's got time for that, honestly. I don't have time for the haters. Sorry, haters, if you want to listen now, planning your message, I probably won't listen to it or
Yeah, you
respond.
just hit the block button. Easier that way.
Yeah, it's the big fat red button. No, I'd like to think that I'm, you know, accommodating of all. I'll talk to anyone, but when people get silly, nah,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
all
just,
right.
the thing is with what we do and what Rich and other people do. With especially being on social media, YouTube stuff isn't too bad because you don't tend to get many. I don't know what the word is. Keyboard bashers for use of better words and trying to keep it a
No,
bit PG friendly.
the Warriors.
The Warriors, that's it. I mean, there's another word which starts with the same letter, which I won't use, but
I will leave it there.
but it's especially with social media stuff, is that a lot of drivers and a lot of people which do it, like you and I and Rich at the Hard Compound, get a lot of rubbish, and you got to be really careful of what you say because I've got so many opinions about so many different things. Some of drivers, driving standards, tracks, all sorts. But you kind of got to be a little bit careful of what you say, haven't you?
You've got to be very careful. I tend to try and keep anything about driving standards or anything like that. I'd rather just pencil it down on a notepad and then just throw that away as opposed to putting it out on the internet. Because once it's out there, although you can delete it, it's still out there. And as soon as that notification comes up in about 5 seconds after you've put it out there, you know it's not good.
No, no, no. I think, like I say, driving standards. I don't think any driver really deserves a bashing. I mean, for saying a couple of names, people like Andy Neat and that, like, yes, they've made mistakes. Of course they have. Yes, they've done a couple of things which are questionable. Of course they have. But especially in the Andy Neat situation as well, which is a tough one to get onto. He's a person, a human being at the end of the day. We all cock.
Oh,
With my particular job, like I said, working in after sales, if I forget to do something, if I don't call a customer back, I don't get slated online for it, and my family don't get slated online for it as well. His job's to be a racer driver at the end of the day. So why is he getting slated for making mistakes? We're human beings, and if they're all perfect, they'd all be in F1 or something, wouldn't they? At the end of the day.
well, yeah, exactly. I mean, they were already on the line anyway, but they crossed the line as soon as they started attacking the family.
Yeah, I mean, look, the thing is as well with other paid drivers, not just choosing that as an example, is if we had a big business, and Andy's been incredibly successful in business, let me tell you that, unbelievable businessman, done really well for himself. If you had that amount of money left over or disposable income, would you not have a go in touring cars? Well, tell me
Well, I've
now you didn't
been
have like half the
saying
money.
recently.
Tell me now you wouldn't
It,
have a go.
I'd funny enough you say that. It's just thinking the other day as I was at work and a bit of a lull in the day, and I was thinking if I win that Euro Millions, I'm just going to run a team because then I don't have to risk hurt myself. I just get to, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I got my colour scheme all set out. I got who I'd like to, what cars we'd have. Of course, I'd recruit Cam back because he was a very successful motorsport mechanic in his time, and I'd love to give him a proper crack back at the whip and everything like that. I mean, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, all right, so tell me now then. I shouldn't be asking you questions, really. Should be.
Oh,
But,
it's a chat, innit?
let's say we win the Euro Millions tonight. Right, well, not
Yeah,
whenever it goes out. I don't know. If you go to create your team, who are you
yeah.
having and what cars are you driving?
Well, Cam swears down that a Kia would make a brilliant touring car. Now, I think he was referring to the Seed, but I'd like to think the Stinger could also have a good,
Yeah, that looks wicked.
good rear wheel drive.
That looks wicked.
Um, a green and gold livery. I'm a Man United fan, so green and gold till the club is sold. And also if I'm following American football, I'm a Packers fan. They're green and gold as well.
Yeah.
So British Racing green with a a gold accent to it would just pop. If it was down to me personally, I'd love to see the Golf on track, but you can't have that because they're 2 mil short in the chassis. That's why Team Hard are running Cupras, which is just nonsense. But I'm not going to get moody about that again. So if I was going to have anyone driving for us, we'd want a good development driver. I'd love to see Rory Butcher in that seat because like Cam's close to him. So I've been fortunate to hear him talk about cars and stuff like that, and his knowledge is just exceptional. And actually, when I was walking around the paddock at Thruxton, just gone. I mean, no, nothing against any of the drivers. Me and me were half of there very early, and as we were walking around the pits, he was by far the earliest out there, walking around his car with the engineers, and mechanics. Sorry, and do you know what I mean? It just seems like he's the man for it. And if I was going to have someone in the backup, I'd love to have Jack Butel, and not just because we've had him on the pod, but as we'll talk about later, he is a stellar driver. I think that would make an excellent lineup.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
No, I think that'd be good. I mean, another thing about Rory Butcher as well, as you go back to saying, I was on a lucky enough to go along to a test day for Rick Kerry, former British touring car driver, and he's got a BMW Cup car. It's a wicked car. It's a 1 Series with a 4 litre V8 whacked in the front of it. Anyway, so he invited me along and just said, "Do you want to see how a test day works?" And that in itself was unbelievable. But anyway, so we turn up. I've got my trusty little diesel Golf, and then this truck turns up with two of the BMWs in, and I thought that was wicked. I thought, wow, look at this. Then Team Toyota GB turn up with two like articulated double decker trucks. And then Rory and Sam turn up in their brand new Supras, which they've obviously been given by Toyota, so it's not a bad life. But through the whole day, Rory was out there more often than not, just putting the laps in. So I quite agree that and I'm not surprised to say when you see him there and he's the first driver out there, I'm really not surprised. Because even on that test day, I barely saw him all day because he was out driving, putting laps in, getting feedback. So he seems like a wicked driver.
I think it's a bit of. He's not had a bad year, Roy. I mean, he can do better. I mean, last year in the final weekend, he was up there as one of the potential winners, but obviously he was, I think, running fifth. So by the first race, he is out. Nothing by no fault of his own. Just you need to win every race if you're on the back foot.
Yeah.
But we've not obviously seen him just as far up the order this year. But it's a brand new car to him, a new team. I think next season we'll see his breakthrough. I really think that him and that car could gel.
I think you're right. I mean, you've got to consider, I know a lot of the old Speedworks guys are there, but Tom Ingram left. It was a big part of that team. And he took his top engineer with him, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So they're two new drivers in their new car, and it's a fairly new team when you bring Toyota back in as well. So like you say, once you get 12 months and a bit of testing out of the way, then next season they should go well.
Where are we thinking from the results of the season? Who we're seeing up there now? Who we're going to see at the front end of the grid come the start of next season? Bearing in mind the changes, the hybrid era, maybe new drivers, new teams and whatnot.
I'm going to say the obvious one. Just start off with being Ash Sutton. It is just different classes. I can't put into words how much of a good driver he is. He's outstanding. He's just different class, and the guy's 27 years old, I think, something like that. So
Yeah.
if he wins a few more titles, he could well have 3, 4, maybe even 5 titles before he's 30 years old. It's just
if he stays in that car, yeah.
That car looks unreal. A lot of people say, oh, it's Ash has just come to terms with the car, but you can't knock the work that the Team Hard guys have been doing, because even like Boardley and Moffat are getting right up there the last few races. So they've done an excellent job with that.
Better than they were last season, especially Aiden, because he's just. It's like we're saying though. It's another season in that car. This is his second season in it, getting used to the rear wheel drive and everything, and it's starting to, starting to actually become something now for him.
Yeah, and it goes to show, doesn't it? Because it genuinely really pains me to say this, being a massive Jason Plato fan, but it goes to show that not having that extra year under your belt, because you got to remember that even though Power Max were kind of there last year, didn't have two solid drivers to give constant feedback, and that they're constantly complaining about understeer issues and little problems here and there, and I think that's just because they didn't have as much feedback from consistent drivers they did last year. Because they had like a bit of a merry-go-round, didn't they, giving other people a chance?
They did,
Great
yeah.
to see. Don't get me wrong. Like, for example, Mike Bushell, unbelievable technician in the car. You can set up a car and drive it like you wouldn't believe. And Jess Hawkins, people out getting an opportunity is great. But without having Jason in the seat for 30 races, the guy's been doing it since '97. He's going to know how to set up a touring car, and I think it's gone to show this year. They're struggling a little bit.
Do you see him? You still see him doing it next season then?
I hope so. I mean, the Astra's the oldest car on the grid now. And as we've seen with cars like the Volkswagen CC and the MG6, ironically, both of which he drove, when a chassis gets older and times move forward, they do tend to slip down a little bit. So I think it'll be good if they can perhaps get another car in the next season or two, going into the hybrid era. But you can't write off a person like Jason, because he just knows the game, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
He knows the game. He's like at Brands Hatch season before last race of the season. He wasn't really anywhere all season. I mean, he had a couple of top tens and that, but got the reverse grid fairly near the front. And once he gets to the front, he's got the widest car in the world. He's got about 3 Astras.
Well, that's the thing. We're not seeing him right at the front this season, which is a shame. I just hope that, you know, we haven't seen the best of him gone. You know, in that year off, I'm hoping that wasn't sort of that period where he'd lose it. You know.
I think he's one of those drivers. I can only speak for what I can see. I do not know him inside and out. I wish I did, because he seems like a right laugh and he's a great guy.
Yeah, I've read his book. Yeah.
The book's amazing. But but as long as he has something to battle for and fight for, or an objective, he'll do well. He's got to get to that 100. And
Oh God, yeah.
as long as he's got that, he's only got 2 or 3 races left till he hits it. As long as he's got an end goal, we won't see him drop off, I don't think.
Could you see him moving teams?
I don't know. I mean, who could have him? Who could afford him? I mean, I know the sponsors kind of pay for himself, but who would he want to go to? I can't see him going to Dynamics with the greatest of respect. I mean,
that would be hilarious.
It'd be great to see. Imagine that, though. Neil on the side telling Jason what to do. But I can't see him really going anywhere, because everyone's got their main kind of driver, if you like, and that's no disrespect to any other driver on the grid, but BMW have got Colin, Accelerate have got Ingram, Team Hard have got Goff in the Cupra and Sutton in the Infiniti. Everyone's got their main driver, and I can't really see him going anywhere.
Yeah, I was just rattling the idea of BTC in my head, but you think they might be quite set with their lineup, seeing as how well Senna's doing.
Do you know what? That I was going to get onto him a little later on when we asked who's been a bit of a standout this season or a bit of a surprise. The guy's had no pre-season testing. He only stepped in after a couple of rounds, and he's up the front without fail.
Consistently, yeah.
Really surprised me. Unbelievable driver.
I know, because I mean, he's a race winner, Jack Sears trophy winner, so you shouldn't be surprised really. But he didn't have the best season with the Hyundai last year. Although, yeah, first season, it's still quite a young team and whatnot. So I was surprised to see him back so soon, considering the seat was obviously originally filled with Creasy, which everyone was gutted to see lose it. But again, sponsorship, it wasn't just, we don't want him.
Because he's such a guy. He's always, he's one of those guys where if I messaged him right this second on our page Twitter and said, who do you think's going to win this weekend? He'll send you a video back. He's unbelievable sporty.
Yeah, he's really good. They also obviously had Dan Camish in for the opening round, who did an unbelievable job. He's still got more points than over half the grid.
It's just 30 points.
Bonkers.
Quite stupid like that at the moment. Well, I say at the moment, that's all he will have, I would have thought. But
well, yeah. I mean, unless we see some sort of minor miracle, But,
I mean, I'm looking. I've got quite sadly, I opened up my my Safari on my phone, and somewhat ironically, the tables standings is is the last thing I looked at. But you look at it now, and he's got more points than Carl Baldley, Tom Chilton, Aaron Taylor-Smith, Osborne, Bittel, Smelt, Jade Edwards, and as well as a couple of others, of course. But that's not bad, is it, for 3 races that he's done?
No, and considering he could have actually pushed harder for one of them, but he just played rear gunner to Josh in that race 2 at the opening weekend, I think it was.
It's a shame. It's a shame he's not in, because he's a blinding driver, and he was so hard done by that season that he could have won it. Was you at that race at Brands?
I wasn't, no.
Oh my God! Do you know what? I've been going. This is going to show how fairly young I am. But my first race was 2002, and I was about 6 years old. So I've been going for a long time to Brands. It's literally 20 minutes from my house. And we went, me, my missus, and my best mate. We all went up there. We camped over there for the full weekend. I think I won the tickets from QuickFit, actually. I don't think I paid for them, which is a bit of a touch. Anyway, I've never ever, in all of the time I've ever seen touring cars live, seen an atmosphere or a gasp in the crowd when it just cut to that scene of him just going backwards at the top of the GP loop. It was a tension I've never heard in my life.
It was such a hit though, wasn't it, as well? It wasn't just like, he's dipped his tyre off into the gravel and he's just lost it and spun off. It was a hit and a half.
Yeah, I mean, credit to him. At least he done it properly. Like you say, at least he didn't just scrape a wall or something. At least he had taking the rear end of it off. But
I mean, because as well as having your absolute heart crushed, the feeling he must have been feeling in his back as well and everything, that must have hurt.
In all honesty, I don't think he would have felt it, considering how heartbreaking it is to lose the title with a couple of laps to go. I think your backache is going to be like the least of your faults, in fairness. But the thing is,
Give
we
it 2 weeks
saw it
and then all
coming.
of a sudden.
We all saw it coming. I said, and me and a couple of other people saying, bloody hell, them brake discs look a little, because they were glowing.
Yeah,
I've
they
never seen
were.
nothing like it. And all of a sudden, sure enough, one of them fails and he's backwards in all, which is a devastating way to lose it.
But thinking next season then, where if because you've got to sit him back on. I mean, you can't get that close to a title, especially in a front wheel drive car. Because obviously we've been seeing rear wheel drives winning it quite comfortably. The overall drivers' championship. Um, Again, who would accommodate him? Who would lose a driver to have him in? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's difficult now because we're not in the super touring days, so you can't have two drivers which you pay to race, and they've all got to bring sponsorship, which I believe is quite a reason why Dynamics
I think
couldn't
it was a
keep
Honda
on.
thing.
Yeah, because Honda
Because
pulled out, and I think Honda backs down. I don't know.
yeah,
I do not know, but I think Honda backed him a bit.
it's a bit. It was a mix of Honda backing because obviously Honda didn't just pull out of Dynamics; they pulled out of
Yeah,
everything. So it really wasn't anything to do with him.
no,
Um,
it's a shame, but like I said, I don't know who can have him because, like I said, it's unfortunately for all but about two or three drivers on the grid. It's a pay game. You pay to play kind of thing.
oh yeah,
And if you haven't got the backing, it's a shame because you get so many good drivers which don't get a chance. I mean, people like Dan Cam, for example, people like Creasy, even people like Paul Rivette, that's one that basically taking a piss out of the Clio Cup for the last 10 or 15 years. He only gets an odd run out here and there. It's a shame
and
for
that's
him.
just not enough.
It's not. No, you're
It's
right.
not enough to actually establish yourself.
No, the best driver in the world, even like your Max Verstappen's, your Lewis Hamilton's, your George Russell's, if they got in a touring car for one weekend, they probably wouldn't win, to be fair. So it's completely
No,
different. So you can't have a little run out here and there and expect to do well.
no. Although I would love to see that. I mean, we said on the very first podcast before most of the drivers had been announced and stuff like that, who we'd like to see in the. I think it was in the final Power Max seat, and I said, yeah, Chuck Lewis Hamilton in it. I'd love to see it. If you're going to ask me, you know, wouldn't that just be hilarious?
It'd be great to see, wouldn't it? See, I mean, I think you'd see his class because he's obviously always been rear-wheel drive and always been a single-seater. But you would see a different class of driver because he's just unbelievable, isn't he? I mean,
Yeah,
if you said to me when he first, I mean, I remember watching him in Formula Renault early mid 2000s when I first started watching the touring cars on a support package, and he looked good. But if you said to me that guy's going to equal and probably beat Schumacher's 7 titles, you'd say no way, no way is
yeah.
anyone ever going to do that. But he has, and fair play to him.
But he's gone with the times.
Yeah,
That's a big key because obviously F1 went through such a change with their hybrid era and everything like that. We saw it change for many drivers, and he just flew with the times. I mean, he's behind the best team on the grid anyway, who would have helped with that. But still, you've just got to have that raw talent. I remember doing the hot lap on Top Gear back in that Suzuki Liana or whatever it was,
yeah.
and he just pissed it. You know,
Exactly, and people say, "Oh, he's in the Mercedes, which is by far and away the best car over the last couple of years," which is true. But you've got to be able to get in those opportunities to get in that seat. It's like saying, "Oh, Sutton pisses it because that Infinity is amazing," which is partially true, yeah. But you've got to have the talent to get in that seat. Like I couldn't get in that car because I'm no good. I'm nowhere near as good
well,
as them.
there's two other drivers who, no offense, they're doing well, but they're not doing that well. You
Exactly.
know,
This will always frustrate me with people which say, "Oh, it's the car, it's the car." It is the car, but you've got to have the talent and the sponsorship and the whole package as a driver to get in the best seats in the best cars.
that's exactly it. So obviously we're coming up to the end of the season. Well, the end of the season is in sight now. I'm looking at the calendar because I'll be at Brands as you will, I'm sure, for the final weekend.
Oh, more than likely.
With the 24th of October, I'll just be there for the Sunday.
Mhm.
And the fact that we're mid-September now, and I'm already kind of peeking at the calendar, going, "Ooh, only a few weeks really." The end of the season is coming up. We've got a double header, haven't we? We've got Croft and then followed exactly by Silverstone. I think we can both agree. We're going to agree. Ash Sutton's going to end up winning it. We could be wrong. Um, who do you see? Do you see Tom Ingram keeping second, keeping closest, or do you think he's going to fade away? Are we seeing anyone else going to creep up?
Going back to the Ash Sutton thing, saying he's going to win it, I will go on anyone's YouTube channel, mine, yours, and send out a heartfelt apology if he doesn't win that. He's unbelievable. But anyway, going on to second place, Tom Ingram will probably keep it again. He's done a blinding job. You got to remember it's again first season in that car, which is amazing to be second, and I think he's only 30 points behind.
It's not too far behind.
No, it only takes a bad weekend to get caught up in someone else's accident, or to perhaps be the inner Ash Sutton and the inner racer and just make a move which perhaps isn't on, much like he did last year. In fairness,
Coming up to Croft.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I think he's past that anyway. I think he understands that was a massive balls up.
I think that was a huge turning point for him, actually.
Yeah, and after that, I know we're going a little bit off subject, but after that last season, he was a different driver. It was like he'd aged about 10 years mentally.
Yeah.
Of course, but like I say, Tom's done a great job. Cookie's done a great job. He's stupid at Thruxton. It's not really worth anyone else turning up, is it? How good he's been the last.
No, I think he's driven that track more than anyone on that grid.
Yeah, even Jake Hill's doing well as well. He's well up there again in the focus.
Yeah. See, I think Jake Hill's one of the most natural talents on that grid.
Yeah, he is. Have you seen him drive the R32 Skyline? And
yeah.
The onboard's
What a beast
on that.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to drive that. I mean, I'd love to see it. I'd love to be around it, sit in it, but I wouldn't want to try and hack that up, especially the hill climb at Goodwood.
I'd love to give that a go. I mean, look, I wouldn't want to.
I'll deck it. I'll put it in the wall.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go out and scrape up that wall at the end, but it'd be a great laugh trying.
Yeah, in front of all those people.
Yeah, it makes stuff look like a cock in front of everyone. Why not? I mean, I did that
You get
this
a big
weekend on YouTube anyway, so it's no difference for me.
Do it now. So we think that Ingram's going to hold on to second.
Yeah.
Disappointed with Colin this year.
Yeah, he's had a bit of a stinker, hasn't he, this year?
He has. In fact, probably not. I don't know, actually, Tom Oliphant's not ahead of him on points, is he? Yet, but he could easily be by the end of the year if he's not already.
Oliphant's had a decent season. Oliphant's
had a very good
Oliphant's
season.
on 110 points. Stephen Jelly's on 117. Connor's on 169. So he is still leading that group. But
Stephen Jelly's got more than Tom Oliphant at the moment.
Yeah,
I find that so hard to believe right now.
Let me tell you a story about Stephen Jelly. Where was that? Well, it's not really a story, to be fair. It's more of an observation that I made. I was at Brands a couple of years ago, and it was a season. I can't remember how many seasons ago. It was only 2 or 3 seasons ago. And we were waiting for hours and hours because of the bloody fog at Brands Hatch. Is unbelievable. I don't know why the organisers do it, but they say, the first race is at 9:10 or whatever, but the fog's unbelievable until about midday. Anyway, so we sat there for hours, and Jelly has done the most ridiculous start I've ever seen in a race all of my life.
He starts so well.
Yeah,
actually. It's his biggest thing.
Unbelievably well, especially with rear-wheel drive as well. They always tend to get off the line a little bit quicker, but he's a really good racer, is Stephen Jelly. I don't think he gets quite as much credit as perhaps he should.
I think we've run a good point here. We've ended on a lovely high note with our pure love for the sport that's brought us both here tonight together to discuss this.
That's all we do it for. We don't do it for money. By hell, we don't do it for money. And 9 times out of 10, we don't really do it for the enjoyment of doing it, because it takes a lot of time to do, doesn't it? But we just do it because we love motorsport and we love fans and we love talking to people. I mean, people were tweeting me saying, I can see you in your pink Mac at Brands Hatch. That's brilliant, isn't it?
It's lovely, isn't it? Yeah. With a photo of me and Ryan where we just managed to squeeze Senna Proctor's Honda right between our heads just so we took a photo, and he loved it.
It was loving it, wasn't it? That's what I'm saying. It's great. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
All for the love.
Well, I think we'll talk again at some point. We'll get the predictions. We'll do, pre-season sort of stuff.
Yeah, perhaps we'll catch up at Brands as well if you're going properly.
Oh no, definitely catch up at Brands.
Bright pink Mac.
Hopefully not this time. I think the weather should be better.
I'll still wear it.
It'll just be cold.
Just I'll wear it.
I'll wear it. God, just wear it. Just wear it. I'll wear one too.
I'll order you one.
Oh, brilliant! Monogrammed and everything like that, like golf shirts.
Yeah.
Well, we have been around the country in 30 races. A Seabrook Day production. I've been Will Waring, and he's been Ty House. And thank you very much for listening, guys.